Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai. All praise unto Yahweh Shimi Yahweh Shai, Wahar Kadash. Double honors unto the apostles, a great millstone. Ownership of us to be pushing his truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. So this is going to be a video regarding the World War III that's in preparation out here. And I just wanted to go into some prophecy because pretty much this article hits this this word river Euphrates, which is a biblical or rather more name mentioned in the Bible, to where with war was going to take place. So I'm going to go into the prophecy, the prophecies regarding these nations, how they was going to be gathered, pretty much in a lot of times when the Most High was going to deliver his people Israel. And in the process of delivering his people Israel, he was also going to be judging these different nations. So we're going to look at that within the scriptures. So to start off with, I'll read the article, and then to finish off with, I'll go into the scriptures. Okay, so it says, you know what? I'll go back and forth. Okay, it says Lavrov. This is a dude out there in Russia. It says U.S. has no plans to leave Syria. Okay, positioning itself on the Euphrates bank. Okay, it says despite, and that's the key word right there. Despite Donald Trump's claim, the U.S. is actively digging in the area of the eastern bank of the Euphrates River in Syria and has no intention of leaving. Okay, and says Russian Minister Sergei Lavrov said. Okay, so let's go into the scriptures right quick. And this is the book of Revelations, the 16th chapter on the 12th verse. It says, and the sixth angel pulled out his vial upon the great river Euphrates. Okay, and the water thereof dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Okay, so this is dealing with a particular spirit being pushed out there, so that these dudes was gonna go out there and war against each other, man. Okay, let's go see this article and build upon this particular point. So it says, despite for as for economic reconstruction, this will take time. He says, I'm convinced that we should all act in the interest of the Syrian people and out of total respect for the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of Syria. So, you know, they go into their own thing. So, I mean, I suppose this point would be good to reach. It says, U.S. pledged that their only aim was to repel terrorists from Syria. And that was the remember they was talking about ISIS not too long ago. Well, ain't nobody really talking about that anymore. Okay, to defeat the so-called Islamic State. Okay, but despite their claims, I remember when they was talking about all of this, when they was trying to take Syria. Okay, before this Assad thing resurged, because this ain't the first time they've been talking about Assad, you know, committing war crimes against, you know, his people. Okay, and, you know, I'm not the most politically astute person out there, so you know, I don't know the ins and outs of it. You know, I'm sure there's someone out there that's gonna done a video about that. You know, I just go into the scriptures as best as I can and try to couple it with the articles that are happening. You know, keeping it basic. You know, most of the time Jake ain't gonna really go into all them deep. You know, you lose attention after. You know, you stop paying attention. You know, Jake's got a short attention span. Okay, to defeat the so-called Islamic State. But despite all their claims, despite President Trump's claims, the U.S. is actually positioning itself in the eastern bank, okay, of the Euphrates, and has no intention of leaving there, okay, because that's where, you know, a great amount of judgment was going to be played out. Okay, so now let's go into the book of let's go to Daniel 2:44, and then we go to the book of Joel. Okay, going to show you that war is very necessary. Okay, it's a very necessary part of our salvation, because these nations, man, okay, whether it be Ammon, Moab, Japheth, okay, all of them nations were partakers of our captivity. Now you might say, at what point did Japheth have us in slavery? Well, what you find out within the history is when we was taken down by the Babylonians or the Greeks, especially the times of the Greeks, because it's well documented within the book of the Maccabees, how that certain geezers will come up, you know, take slaves out of Jerusalem, and they'll sell them all over the place, man. So during those times, we was like, we was just like product, and they sold us, okay. But in being in captivity underneath these nations, they was going to become, our subjects unto us. Okay, with Esau being the one that's the least, because he's really our main enemy. Okay, he's the one that's pushed that image of us being black and not the Israelites. And as a result, the Most High is going to put a heavy judgment upon him. Okay, so Daniel 2:44, and this is really in that point of the kings, because it says kings in there. I like matching stuff up. It says, and in the days of these kings, okay, kings of of the so-called world that we're living in right now, so the Most High, which are the presidencies and different leaders that you got out there. Okay, so the Most High, the God of heaven, set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. Okay, and shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms and shall stand forever. So when this thing is popping off, the Most High was gonna interject, and they're gonna stop fighting each other. Okay, so you're seeing this war, because this, Russia's involved in this thing. Okay, America's involved in this thing. Iran is involved in this thing. Okay, so this is gonna go out into an all-out World War III. Okay, so you got a World War III, but they're gonna leave off from fighting one another to try fight up against the Lord, and the Lord is gonna establish a kingdom within the 12 tribes of Israel that was gonna stand forever, and that's what really we're working for. That's what we're laboring for. Now you might go on your day-to-day so-called life, and that you got your job and maybe your family or whatever, but the main objective, really, when you go into the book of Ecclesiasticus, is to serve the Most High and keep His commandments to the end of what? That when that new kingdom is set up, you was going to be a partaker of it. Okay, Ecclesiasticus 12:13, it says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear the Most High, of which you got to fear the Most High. Okay, fearing the Most High means you fear the men that He set up to teach you. Okay, you got some cats out there that are coming up against the order and coming up against the ranks. Okay, because they feel like they feel some type of way. You ain't supposed to be doing that. If you fear the Most High, you was gonna fear the people that taught you who you are, who taught you about your heritage, that have been doing the work diligently, that have got the seal of approval, of which that seal of approval is time. You know what I mean? You might be with a chick and you saying you're putting her through the test. Really, the real test is time. And that's just with your chick. And the same thing applies for a man. Okay, the real test is time. Okay, see, time is the great healer, and time is the great test. Because once you have it to where a man's been in the truth for 25 years, man, then you know that person is solid, man. That's got to be a man of the Lord. Okay, because they're convinced within their spirit, no matter what has happened, whatever adversity, electric bills, not being paid, car broke down, all of them kind of things, women leave you, all of them things, this all happened. Okay, and someone's still studying first for the truth, then that goes to show you that person has a fear of the Most High, and that's gonna be a man of the Lord. And if you fear the Most High, then you was gonna be what? Subject unto those people. As I stay in order. Okay, and it says, and keep His commandments. Okay, which is to go out there and push this word to the end that what? That when the Most High sets this kingdom up, you're gonna be a partaker of it. For this is the whole duty of man. So the whole duty of the man is to fear the Most High and keep His commandments. Okay, everything else is vanity. King Solomon said it himself. It's in Ecclesiasticus. Everything is, all the other things is vanity. You set up a school. Okay, the next leader of the school starts bringing stuff that you didn't condone with into that particular establishment. You set up a business, okay, your son takes over the business and runs the biggest business down to the ground. But see, the fear of the Most High and the keeping of His commandments, okay, is a beautiful thing, because there was going to be a reward for that. Okay, and that reward was going to be sure, and that when the Most High sets this kingdom up, you was going to be set up to inherit it. So as these geezers are going out there into war, well, they was going to become slaves unto us, okay, and that's what you was working towards too. Let's go get that within the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter. Okay, Isaiah 14 and 2. It says, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Okay, and just to finish off within the book of Joel, I believe it's in the 2nd chapter, 3rd chapter. Okay, here we go. So Joel 3:1, it says, behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity. Let me see what this word bring again means. Okay. To turn back, to return. Okay. Okay, so to return. So when the Most High was going, return us from captivity. Okay, so that's why you got the camp sign out there. A lot of guys are coming up against the camp sign now. Okay, but that camp sign is that's you coming out of, that's the beginning of the Most High bringing you out of captivity, because you got to know your heritage. And then once you know your heritage and you're sealed, and that's when the Most High was going to take full effect and physically manifest it. Okay, you was going to be brought out of Babylon. Right now, your mindset is out of Babylon, but the Most High was going to physically draw you out of Babylon when he returns, when these nations was going to be gathered together fighting in that valley of Jehoshaphat. Okay, out there in the river Euphrates. Okay, in the valley of the Most High's judgment. Okay, Yahweh has judged. Okay. In that valley, okay, so the Most High Lord's gonna be judging them nations there, and you was gonna be at the same time you was gonna be removed out of the position of being in slavery. Okay, so it says when the Lord was gonna do all of this, I will also gather all the nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I'll plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, whom they have scattered amongst the nations. So when different cats see this, they thinking that this is just some event that's gonna go away. No, you got them nations gathered together so that them scriptures could be fulfilled, man. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna say, all praise unto Yahweh, Shemi Al-Shai, Wahara, Rakakadash, double understanding to the apostles, a great millstone. Honestly, brothers, that be pushing the truth in sincerity. Shalom.